platforms: YouTube UTV 124, Facebook UTV 124, Instagram UTV 124, Twitch UTV 124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV TV for you.
I can't
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is Thursday, September 16th, 2021. My name is Tresha Lionel for now. And it is a great pleasure welcoming you here once more to the show where we continue to talk about all kinds of things. So for those of you listening to us on our radio station partner, yeah, that's Hits FM 92.1 and 91.1. Also, if you're watching on television on channel 124, that is on Flow Underground Television. Thank you very much for watching, as always. And if you're watching on the different social media platforms where we are streaming every weekday live from 11, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all of them, thank you very, very much as always. And today it's going to be a strange one for me with the show because it hits very close to home, and we're going to be discussing certain things and that, like I said, it's a bit personal. So, but to do that, we'll start from a certain place where we talk about the medical profession and where we are. So let's start here.
The government of France has handed over a portable X-ray machine to the government of St. Lucia. The equipment is expected to assist staff at the respiratory hospital in providing care for patients afflicted with COVID-19. We have more in this report from the Ministry of Health.
The Ministry of Health recently received an ISO tank of liquid oxygen from Martinique to assist with the surging in demand for oxygen at the respiratory hospital. The oxygen procured will be used to treat COVID-19 patients at the respiratory hospital. Medical Director at the respiratory hospital, Dr. Alicia Eugene Ford, says she is elated about the boost in oxygen supply given the greater demand for oxygen at the hospital.
Oxygen therapy is a very important arm when it comes to treating COVID-19. And over the last few weeks, we have noticed an increase in the number of patients that are coming that are very ill, requiring more and more oxygen. It is a very expensive process to allow us to get it. Martinique has the cases as well to deal with. We actually had a boat from Dominica who came across to drop this tank for us, and they too have to deal with the cases. So we're asking us St. Lucians, do what we need to do. Mask up, hand hygiene, isolate, vaccinate. If you have to vaccinate, you need to vaccinate.
General Manager of Windward Island Gases Limited, Lucas Lubin, says the fourth wave of COVID-19 has put a strain on their supply of oxygen and therefore must explore options to provide oxygen to the hospital.
Normally, the hospitals, in particular Victoria Hospital, would have done, say, about 240 cylinders of our oxygen in almost 2 weeks. And right now, the demand is so high that we end up doing about 240 cylinders per day. And right now, as of 2 days ago, it has ramped up to 300 cylinders per day. It has put us a sort of a strain on our productive capacity. And because we do have a plant, and as well as we do import oxygen to compensate for any differences. And as a result of that significant demand, and so that we had to maintain supply in the hospitals, we ensured that we had more tanks to be able to supply the hospitals, in particular Victoria Hospital.
The purchasing of the ISO tank of liquid oxygen was made possible through the efforts of the government of St. Lucia, Windward Island Gases Limited, and the government of Martinique.
So even with this donation of an X-ray machine, I think there you also understand the demand for oxygen tanks and everything else with the hospital. So we are in this pandemic with COVID-19, but we're also facing something else. And when I saw it, for many people, you're excited about it and you don't think of it in that way. But with the changes legislation concerning cannabis and what people are allowed to do legally, I think we need to have a discussion on where we are. We're having a respiratory illness with COVID, then also with legislation making people more able to smoke the way they want to. And I don't think weed is the problem, but what about when you mix it and everything else, the repercussions of that? But before we get into that, let us look to what the Rastafarian community, what they're saying, what the Prime Minister is saying with regards to cannabis.
New legislation is the start, which allows us to develop a cannabis industry that reports show could provide jobs when fully developed and can contribute dollars to the government's coffers. And to the Rastafarian brothers, the government extends its sincere apologies to your community for the immense suffering that you have endured over the decades under this law.
On August 31st, when the amendment to the Drugs Act was initially introduced, NBC Prime probed a prominent Rastafarian leader who explained priority access to the emerging cannabis industry should follow any state apology.
Is an apology from the government, from the state, warranted?
Well, an apology with compensation, with redress to whatever has happened to the Rastafari community, and also giving them a pivotal role in moving forward. I'm not talking about any other organization. I think that the Rastafari, as Rastafari, stand by themselves, not a cooperative, not any of these things, but the Rastafari community stands unique, stands individual by themselves, and they're supposed to be given that role and that responsibility to actually tread forward.
Commensurate with the landmark amendments to the Drugs Act, which decriminalizes adult possession of less than 30 grams of cannabis, the JPA-led administration has also reversed criminal convictions for people previously charged by police for unlawful cannabis possession. However, as the Prime Minister explained in the lower house, recreational and religious cannabis smoking will be restricted.
You can smoke in a specified designated smoking area in a restaurant or bar, but it must be specified as a smoking area, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it also says, Mr. Speaker, that if you are at your home, in your private residence, you can smoke a joint without being arrested by the police, but only in the confines of your private residence, Mr. Speaker. At your home, in your yard, at your home, not in public, Mr. Speaker.
The government-established Cannabis Commission in 2019 published a taxpayer-funded report on the potential benefits of a state-regulated cannabis industry. The cannabis report estimates government can potentially earn upwards of $79 million annually in licenses and tax revenue from a regulated cannabis market.
So even with these first steps being taken, we now have to put it all together. When we see oxygen tanks, the demand for it is so much. People are having struggles to supply it to the different hospitals, to the respiratory hospital and other things. And I do know personally what it is to need one of those tanks for a loved one. My grandmother needed one, and it was hell to get one in the middle of everything going on. And thankfully, you know, after talking, calling, mache, all sorts of things, that was done. But some people are not so fortunate, and it's just one of those situations where we can talk about the numbers, but there are real people behind these numbers and real scenarios there that it's really heartbreaking. And when we speak of cannabis, when we speak of that legislation, when we speak of the lack of oxygen, when we speak of what we're dealing with COVID, I do not want us to forget too that even before that, we also had a serious issue, a spate of health issues regarding COPD. And with that in mind, yes, I know some people will say, well, it's just easy to not mix weed with tobacco, and that should be enough. But for some, it is a struggle not to do. But I think with the show and in what we can do, I think we need to educate people and let them know that, because with everything going on and the lack of resources, I know we're short on nurses. Even before this COVID situation, nurses were not treated well. Some had to leave to go to Canada, some left. Some people, their contracts were not continued. So we've had a situation with our healthcare, not just even in the supplies that we need. We know that there's no bed sheets and the bandages and everything else and the oxygen, like I've said before, but even human resources, that too is being affected. So when we know all that, I think we need to take responsibility, each and every one of us, marijuana smokers too, even that, you feel like, things free up, just to educate us, just to know where we're going. I know what it's like, fellas come in a shop and they can buy cigarettes by singles. I know most times people do that is really to, cut it in half and sprinkle it on your weed and, roll it up and smoke it. And for some, it's because it's a cheaper thing to do. Some do it because they want to escape. Some do it because, others are doing it. You sit on the block and you're smoking. Some smoking more than they should. But I want us to realize and recognize where we are. And to do that, I think the best thing would be to look at some of the interviews that I've seen conducted by Dale Elliott on that issue with COPD. I know many people suffer from it, and I just wanted in the show today to really shed some light on what it has done, what it can do, and how for now, right now, and I think for the rest of, just looking on to our future, we don't have space. There is no space at the hospitals. We really don't have the resources. We're seeing the number of deaths, and it's just a very difficult time. So for everybody out there just excited about what's coming on with the marijuana and everything else, I just wanted us to just educate ourselves on what can happen if this is done wrong.
Say Rastafari, and the two first flashes are dreadlocks and marijuana. Culturally entrenched in the Rastafari movement since it began in the 1930s, marijuana, ganja or the herb is considered sacred and is often referred to as the weed of wisdom or the holy weed. Rastas refer to Revelations chapter 22 verse 2. The herb is the healing of the nations. Despite what many think, Rastas actually condemn the use of marijuana simply to get high. Instead, it is usually used within religious ceremonies in a highly ritualized manner in order to enhance feelings of unity and help generate visions of a spiritual and soothing nature.
There is no other love than Rastafari.
Rastafari has always been promoting the cannabis as the healing of the nation, not cannabis and tobacco. So the people who want to mix their tobacco with cannabis, I personally will tell them it is not a good practice. But some people, again, cultural ties, cultural, affiliations and so on, they tell you, well, boy, some man even tell you, well, boy, that the tobacco they smoke is they themselves grow it, so it is not contaminated.
But tobacco is tobacco. Tobacco is tobacco.
Exactly.
Whether it be Fanto, black tobacco, otherwise cigarette tobacco, Benson and Hedges, it is tobacco.
I want you to just take a deep breath in and out.
Ras Bongo Barry has carried his crown of locks and has been a marijuana smoker since 1973. Now, at 54 years, he exhibits signs of stage 4 COPD.
Did you ever smoke cigarettes and marijuana?
Yeah, man, I smoke cigarette and marijuana. In fact, I used to smoke cigarette about 20 cigarettes a day, plus mix it with marijuana. Still smoke cigarette, tobacco, and marijuana.
Describe the high with black tobacco
and the natural weed
versus natural weed. How does it smoke?
The natural weed more mellow, keep you cool, and when you mix it with tobacco or Fanto, it give you a little boost. It keep you a little more rough. It's like cigar. That is why the guys like to smoke it. The boost it giving. And you find if you smoke a joint this morning, the whole day you mightn't smoke no more weed, you know. But when you mix it, a little later you'll want another joint. And a little later you want another joint. Like it's the boost up you want.
In your early days, did anybody ever caution you about mixing weed with tobacco?
No. I will caution you about that. And
Jahai, none of the older guys?
Nah. I will tell you, mix your weed. And if I'd come by your home and you don't smoke weed, I don't stay there. I start giving you names. You know? Because I feel, well, what I'm doing is the right thing. Put it. Put it on the tank, man. It working?
Yeah, it's all.
Without anybody telling me anything, I stopped smoking. I went to Martinique, and then I had a cold, and I said, I'll give the smoking a chance because I seen the cold not finishing. But when I come back St. Lucia, I meet with a girl, and every time she come by me, she bring in weed, rum, for us to have some fun. So I rejoin the smoking.
About how many joints would you smoke a day?
Man, over 8 joints. I'll get up in the morning early, 5 o'clock, and pull my first joint.
Before your cup of tea?
Yeah. And then I'll go to the toilet with another joint. When I come back while making my tea, I have another joint. Anybody that know Bongo Bar will tell you that. Before I drink my tea, I'll smoke half a joint and put the rest there. But when I finish, drink that tea to continue. Then I go and bathe. From bathing, I have a joint smoking. Then on my way to work, I'll have a joint smoking. When I reach on the work, whole day I smoking. Whole day. So I was a chronic smoker, man.
Was it because you were addicted to the tobacco, or was it because you constantly wanted to be high?
Constantly want to be high. Yeah, that is one of the main things. Constantly want to be high.
You want AC?
Yeah.
At the time, describe the changes in your body, how you were feeling, what was going on.
All right. I start coughing non-stop. My throat start coming dry. I start having inflammation. My body start burning me. My lips start coming dry. You see? When I walk, I start losing air. I ain't tired, but the air in my body finishing. So I have to stop and like build back air for me to continue. By the time I tell you that, I had buried 25 brethren already with that same COPD. So I start digging to see what is the COPD now.
Wait. How many are your friends?
25 brethren, both men and women.
Died from what?
From COPD, right here. You see?
At that time, were you still smoking?
Still smoking. I go into the funeral and I smoking at the funeral.
That ain't true.
Because let me tell you, it only have about 2.5 years I stopped smoking. No, I've been fair to you, I'm telling you the truth.
You know what it's doing to your body. Why would you keep doing it? You see your brethren dying from it. Why would you keep doing it?
Yeah, just have about 2.5 years I stopped smoking.
Okay.
Have you ever had a COPD attack at home?
Plenty time, man. Man, when you have that, you peeing on you, you shitting on you. Right there, I do that this week there already. You peeing on you, you shitting on you. The only thing I do is vomit. But the thing with it, you must know it. You must know it to control it.
How do you control it?
You have to move slow. Everything about that is very, very slow. You see, when you come here, I had to go and rest. Take your time, everything you're doing.
How about when you drive somewhere and there's smoke, somebody's burning bush or that sort of thing?
Oh man, I just want to look at them people and kill them. Right now, if you smoke cigarette anywhere outside there, I'll just tell you somebody's smoking.
The irony of life, huh? The irony of life.
Right now, I hate a man that's smoking.
Are you on home oxygen?
Yeah, I have one home. I just sleep with it. I have a couple of days I have, 3 days. It must be asking for me.
Ready?
This is not a cheap disease.
$3,465 every 3 weeks for 2.5 weeks.
Some would say that you brought this illness on yourself. You designed this. And even when you realized that this was becoming a problem, you continued. So you should deal with it. What do you say?
Well, my family don't look at it so. We just know, well, Barry smoke and he gets sick.
Some of your Rastafari brethren will be watching this and say, who's up say my Jimmy take a valley? They kill, tell, nothing of marijuana. My grandmother died 105 years.
You see when the man come by me, the man saying cool and they moving. Because they know I taught them. They have men that come and see me and then throw their weed and stop smoking one time, change their life. And they have men that will just not stop.
What do you think is a primary cause for your COPD?
Hard-headed, man. Hard-headed. You like what you like and you want to go change to do what is right.
So you ready?
Yeah.
You get in?
Any regrets?
Me? All what I telling you, there is regrets. Everything I've talked about, there is regrets. Ras, if I had known that would happen, I would never smoke. Never. Now, my advice to them man out there, stay away from man that's smoking.
What does the future hold for you, sir?
The future? Most times I just ask the doctors if I'm on death row.
What do you do for a living now?
Take care of my breath. I prepare my documents and things, and we'll write. That's all I can do.
When we return, one man smokes himself to his grave. And will decriminalizing the herb result in more people gasping for life?
So, like I said, this is just something that I think we need to look at. And on the show, what we always intend to do is to speak with, clarity and honesty. And this is the reality for many people in this country. Now, for some people that I'm seeing under the live, who cannot get out of the politics of things, you'll continue to do, you have your freedom to type what you, but for the type and do whatever you want. But for the other people who do just want to have a discussion on this and to educate people on what exactly is going on, making sure our young people know what this is, that, if you're smoking your weed, smoke your weed, but the tobacco is a problem, and mixing it can have you end up in that situation. And I know what it is when you're speaking to young people on the block. Bukati, Sokagade, all of y'all and the fellas on the block, you will smoke and smoke with the tobacco and smoke so many joints in a day. And for some people, of course, there's psychology that comes with it too. You sit down on the block, some of y'all, some people not working, so you almost smoke sometimes out of boredom, and then it becomes a habit, and then you cannot get out of it. And it's also the cheaper thing too. You want to stretch the weed, then put some cigarettes on it, put Fanta, put whatever, and it'll stretch for the day. But if we're going to look at this seriously, I think we need to put the politics aside. I am saying, with COVID and everything else and what we know in the healthcare system, all the things that we are lacking, this is also a reality, and we need to make sure that our young people, or some people already suffering from it, can be open and honest to make sure that this, we move forward in a way, in a direction where we know where we're going. I say this not just because of what has happened yesterday, but it was always my intention to do this. But hearing too of a dear friend of mine who passed away yesterday, it was unexpected because he has been suffering with that for so long. And I remember when, he was strong and able and everything, and I would be walking to school and he was telling me, stay in the school or, that kind of thing. And Buju is his name, and he would always, make me laugh, and he always knew what to say to make me laugh. But when that happened yesterday, I think it really put it in my head that we need to talk about it, and I wanted us to have this sort of discussion. Now, he is what he is to me, but for some people who have seen him, some people around the country, they know him from being on television for more than a year and a half because his nephew has gone missing. And since that day, he's been out there looking for answers from police officers, demanding some sort of investigation and demanding more consultation with him and his family. And for all of that, over a year, that hasn't been forthcoming. So just so we remember, it's just a sad reality that even his nephew, still gone, almost 2 years now, he has gone missing. The last place he was seen was at a police station, and they're saying that they dropped him in Choiseul, and now he is gone. And it's sometimes, I marveled, and I was really proud of him coming out to speak, because I know it's not just a Beaufortune thing, but normally St. Lucians are afraid of camera and afraid to talk to members of the public, afraid to talk to press. But that wasn't him. He decided to come out there, even though he said, Trisha, I can't speak English too well, don't put me well there. But he would always make it a point of advocating for his loved one. And it's just sad that happened. But just so we can be reminded of that and what has happened in this family, I think we should take a look.
Family of a mentally challenged man from Vieux Fort is concerned about his whereabouts after his release from police custody on Sunday, November 24th. According to information reaching News Force, 19-year-old Michael Blaze, alias Coco, and 2 other male suspects were detained by police during a search in the Mang Vieux-Fort area. The 2 suspects were reportedly taken to the Micoud police station, while Coco was allegedly held at the Choiseul police station. His uncle says the young man sometimes experiences memory loss.
Well, Friday night the police and them come and make a search in the Mang there. So he was sitting down at the same place they was making the search. So apparently I don't know what happened when they come and search. They don't get nothing. He was sitting down there. They arrest him, but they arrest him with 2 other guys. So they go down with them. So when they go with them, I was there. So when I see I say, well, maybe in the morning they might drop him because they don't get nothing on him. He's not a suspect in any crime, nothing so.
According to Blaze, the police released the 3 young men on Sunday. Since then, Michael's family has taken to Facebook to spread the word in a bid to find their missing loved one. With the whereabouts of his nephew on his mind, Windy says he is unable to sleep at night.
The Sunday, I saw one of the guys, they arrested, they drop him. So when he arrived in the Mang, he tell me, Buju, they haven't dropped Coco. So I tell him, no. So when he tell me that, I thought, well, they would have dropped Coco later in the Sunday. Up to now, we haven't seen him.
By Monday, November 25th, Blaze says he made his way to the Choiseul police station, where he was told by police officers that his nephew was released at 6:30 p.m. Sunday, November 24th, 2019.
So I find something suspicious. So my daughter went in the Choiseul police station. They reviewed the camera showing like they released the man 9:20, 9:30 something so in the night. But what I really find strange, how can you release the man on a Sunday night where Choiseul and them you hardly get a transport on that road? Okay, the police station is just by the road. Why y'all didn't make sure the man board a bus or take your bus? Because y'all don't get nothing on him. Y'all don't even know why y'all arrest him. We have searched the whole of Choiseul for the man, we cannot get him.
The concerned uncle says that a next of kin should have been contacted by police upon his nephew's release, given Michael Blaze's mental health issues, the bus situation in Choiseul at night, and his unfamiliarity with the area.
So that was one of the very first interviews that he had with local media, and since then he's had, about a dozen more speaking on that same issue. But when you watch these things, I think now, with him gone, I know, fellas in the Mang, I know, for many it's going to be a huge loss. But in that regard too, I wonder, who's going to fill that void of making sure that justice is served with regards to that case. And when we look at when I say it's a personal thing, it's not just, losing a friend. But I remember too, like earlier this week, he called and said he needed help with getting the tank. And, I made a few calls, but I say, this weekend when I come down, I will try to see what I can do and try to make something happen, because when I needed one for my grandmother, he was one of the people that I called, because he would know the ropes of how to get it, because he's been dealing with that for so long. And you just think you have time. You think, with everything going on, I'll come before the shutdown and we'll work it out. And then to hear that, it's so disheartening. But I wanted to extend my condolences to his family, and I'm so sorry that has happened. But it also has given me thought and the room for us to have this sort of discussion. And it's not just him in the Mang, and I know for different places, I say the Mang, but that's a place in Vieux-Fort, but there are other communities too where we're seeing a lot of that happening. And one of the other sad instances was this young woman. We can put up the image of her. Her name Shakina, and also a friend of mine, just 32, dying of COPD and leaving, her children behind. So while some people will make this about politics and trying to find all ways to get some political points, this is the reality of what we're dealing with. And I just want to encourage all people, especially young people. You are, you smoking your thing, smoke your thing, but please, let's not do that. Let's not mix it. We're losing our people in our communities. And, if you didn't know, Sase Yoba, if you know, then say that. But if you know and you just decide to, not be cautious and, not even do that, I think it's something that, we need to look into. But this is the first segment of the show. I just really wanted to dedicate it to Buju, and just to say that I'll miss you, and it was great, with you and being your friend and all of that. So, yeah, rest in peace.
I can't stay.
Protocols for international visitors while in St. Lucia. The following protocols are established to guide the stay of all guests while on island in order to mitigate any possible spread of infection. During the first 14 days, visitors are allowed to patronize approved beaches, restaurant, sea and land excursions, and sites and attractions. All visits are scheduled and pre-arranged by their respective accommodation providers. During this period, all visitors will be transported to and from the certified sites using only COVID-19 certified tourism transportation. After the first 14 days, if any visitor wishes to stay on island beyond the 14-day period, they must apply for and receive a health clearance certificate from the Ministry of Health. Visitors will be allowed to travel, be out in the wider public, and patronize local businesses unsupervised once health clearance certificates have been received. During their entire stay, visitors must wear their mask whenever they are in public places and maintain the mandatory 6 feet distancing from others.
Watching UTV, TV for you.
I can't stay.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us. Now, we speak of the healthcare sector and all of the issues that it's facing, but it means something now when you have people who are looking into the many questions that we have, like how much has gone into the St. Jude's Hospital reconstruction for the past 5 years. And the answers are coming, the investigations are happening, and people are coming out and letting us know what is going on there. And it's insane. So let us listen to the Prime Minister give us an account of what has happened with our money, what has been spent, who it's gone to, and what for. And man jeopardy, because I really want to get into it and hear what you have to say, but listen for yourself.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, during a September 14th Lower House address, disclosed the potentially damning details on the former Chasney administration's handling of the still unfinished St. Jude Hospital reconstruction project. The Prime Minister's disclosures were guided by a technical report compiled by technocrats in the Economic Development Ministry.
The cumulative expenditure of 118.05 million has been incurred through a total of 14 contracts that have been signed by the government of St. Lucia and the various contractors, suppliers, consultants, and service providers. All these contracts were procured via direct purchase, approved by the Minister of Finance, meaning that there was no tendering process.
In the last decade, St. Jude Hospital reconstruction plans mutated as the political directorate changed hands. The original site, after years of construction work and a multi-million-dollar taxpayer-funded allocation, was seemingly abandoned in 2019, 3 years after the Chasney administration halted construction after assuming office in 2016.
After careful consideration, sometimes as politicians you are faced with a difficult decision. Do you make a political decision or do you make the right decision? Because sometimes political decisions are not always the right decisions. It may be politically expedient to do something, but not necessarily the best decision. And so, after several consultations between the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, the consultants, and everybody who was involved, we decided that this project must be reconfigured to meet the requirements of a level 4 hospital.
In less than 3 years between 2019 and 2021, the Economic Development Ministry, which was led by Guy Joseph, was the executing agency overseeing St. Jude Hospital construction on a new site. According to Prime Minister Pierre, the Economic Development Ministry burned through more than $115 million in direct awards authorized by the former Prime Minister.
The project is being implemented by the Ministry of Economic Development, and also the main contractor on the project is OECC, a well-recognized Taiwanese contracting firm with a vast area of experiences, whether in road construction or in hospital construction.
However, a closer examination of the administrative process for the new St. Jude Hospital site, Prime Minister Pierre claims, uncovered what he described was an unusual financial arrangement.
A Government of St. Lucia OECC contract was entered into for the full amount of US $20 million or EC 53.6 million to facilitate the OECC making payments to the subcontractor on the basis of completed and certified works. This unusual arrangement, in effect, relegated the OECC to paymasters for the de facto main contractor, Fresh Start Construction Company. OECC would never involve in the construction works at the St. Jude Hospital.
It will be non-stop work until we have delivered this project completed and within budget.
That budget, the Prime Minister suggested, could not have existed in the absence of approved construction plans.
Given that designs had not been finalized and were being submitted to DCA on a phased basis, the project started without a final cost figure. However, even with an engineer's estimate based on design consultancy, the final costings could only be derived upon receipt of the priced bills of quantities from the contractor. In essence, there are no DCA-approved complete set of drawings for the project, which makes it impossible to arrive at a final cost figure for the structure under construction.
But there were projected construction costs outlined in the Economic Development Ministry's report to advance construction on the ground floor of the new building erected by the former Chasney administration, totaling an eye-watering $160 million, according to Prime Minister Pierre.
The cost of getting the ground floor was $48.01 million. That's the ground floor only. Made up of $38.41 million in works, $8.6 million in consultancies, and $1 million in project management unit costs. This would bring the cumulative cost of the St. Jude Hospital with bottom floor only completed to $166 million without furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
Now, the new Labour Party administration, installed in July of 2021, has given a familiar assurance that has been peddled by previous prime ministers in the 12 years since the fateful 2009 St. Jude Hospital fire that claimed 3 lives. Conversely, a completion date for the new facilities has so far evaded at least 3 prime ministers and has left thousands in the south who depend on St. Jude for medical care stranded on the George Odlum Stadium's ground floor. Philip J. Pierre is the 4th prime minister to oversee the morbidly overdue reconstruction project. Contrary to pre-election projections given by the former Chasney administration, Prime Minister Pierre says the island's south is still years away from having a fully functional St. Jude Hospital. Rihani Isidore, NBC Prime.
And it's almost a thing where you have to say, you know, be careful what you wish for. You ask, and I wanted to know, you know, what is going on there? What is going on there with that hospital? And to know that money was wasted in that way, and all we have for $166 million is a bottom floor and things with no fixtures and, you know, nothing else. Money is going into consultancy, money is being given to Fresh Start, people taking and scraping. Meanwhile, there are thousands of solutions who need a space in Viewfort and around the country. When you think of people who even need, you know, the resources like the oxygen tanks, all of the money that people steal from a country can be used for other purposes. And now to really put a figure, because you know something not wrong, we know some corruption going on there, but when you see figures of it, when you see things that have to be done and they're not done, you wonder to yourself, what kind of country are we living in? It is, I feel overwhelmed, to be quite honest with you, you know, listening to that. And I know there's a lot to come. We need the truth, but hearing it too, it really makes you know that these politicians do not care. They do not care, and they have never cared. If you have, you know, family and they're dying, you talk about deaths and COVID deaths and everything. If you really cared over the past 5 years, what would be the reason to steal, to take millions of dollars from a hospital that has to be done, to be completed? People have died because of it, and you do not care. Even to the point of election day, people come in with their cars to take material still for their own personal gain. And somebody must not be arrested for that. Somebody mustn't go to jail for that. People have to scrunt and try to see komene okame tikakada some puwale in an oxygen tank, or, you know, try to stay in a hospital. The nurses people need, and politicians will come overseen by your former prime minister, being given money, taking things, and you will have the audacity to put some of these people back into your face in politics. Some people will have the audacity to speak on St. Jude's, and we will let them. After all, let's take a look just so we can break it down in numbers to understand what's going on there. So cumulative expenditures, it says $118 million, 89 of which is paid. Liabilities 28 million, 14 direct award contracts. That's no cost figure, no DCA approved drawings. So when you don't have the drawings, how do you even know what the budget is? You cannot have cost overruns if you do not even have a budget. What you overrunning? You know, so you can say that you'll boast about that, you're coming on platform boasting that you're under, you know, you're under budget. There is no budget, there is no DCA approved drawing. Exlapan sutu where's a DCA mem la pa ni vole. Rescoping the ground floor, 48 million work 38 million. Consultancies, 8.6. They spent $118 million on the second one and only have a shell. 26 million for the transfer of patients to the wing, which was estimated to take 12 months. $2 million paid for the supply and installment of radiological equipment, but no delivery has been made. $4.9 million paid medical equipment. There has been no delivery. 7.5 million, of which 6.9 is paid for the supply, assemble, install furniture, medical gas lines, nurse call system. $3.78 million supply of doors. The doors are not installed. 800. Can I get that on the side because the number of the thing blocking me. $811,000 of paint only priming supplied. Payments made. No figure. Suspended ceiling, drywall, ceiling, windows and tiles. 84,705 stainless steel railings. For railings. Keep it on there so you'll understand what's been happening with your money. And tell me still if politics will become so much of, you know, your life that you cannot say when something is wrong. You cannot say that this is corruption. You cannot say that $166 million being spent over 5 years and you have a shell of a building when they were trying to vegle you for votes. You can come back to me. Let's put the number back up at 572-7588. And also you can call us via WhatsApp at 484-7588. Let's take the call. Good afternoon.
Good morning, Tresha.
Good morning, sir.
Tresha, you know, this thing is so mind-boggling. It is beyond belief. You know, Tresha, I kept saying to a number of people, some of the stuff that we were hearing about, some of the revelations that were made before elections, I kept saying to people, look, I strongly suspect, I don't have the evidence, but I strongly suspect that may just be the tip of the iceberg, you know. You know, maybe 50 to 75%. There may be 50 to 75% of other stuff that we know absolutely nothing about. And as time goes by, I believe more and more stuff will be brought to light. And this brings me to this man, Dominic Feedy, coming and make all kinds of statements about, you know, the state of health care under this. You know, Tresha, every time I hear one of those guys open his or her mouth, it really infuriates me to think that those people were in office under Alan Shasny as Prime Minister and involved in all that kind of skullduggery. And for them to be making statements now, a little over a month after the elections, as though, you know, nothing like that happened, as though they were models of correctness, models of decency, models of good governance, when we know, and more stuff is coming to light to show the kind of corruption, the kind of open graft, open theft that was taking place in full view of everybody. And some of those guys are coming out to make statements as though everything is normal. They didn't put us in the hole that we're in, and which we're going to suffer from for decades to come. Tresha, like you, I sincerely hope that there is enough evidence to deal with some of those guys. And I don't care whether it's a former government minister or former government ministers or public servants. I don't care. Once there is evidence to prosecute those people, I hope they're prosecuted. And I sincerely hope, too, that somebody goes to jail. Thanks, Tresha.
Thank you very much, caller. You know, on that, I think we agree completely. But Simon Sani chair, you know, I am dumbfounded, because if you have to wonder, like, you know, when is enough enough? When is enough enough? And I'm telling you too, that for those saying, you know, the elections pass already or win already, finishes something. When elections pass, does that mean that you cannot keep governments accountable? When you have people on Sky FM, yes, we're going there. When you have people on Sky FM and that place and just spewing all kinds of lies, let it go. But when you have things like this in your face, somebody see for me, Minister Mati, D Mati, if you can say where the money has gone, say it. But right now, with the evidence that we have, with the investigations that people are doing within office, this is what we're seeing. There is a place. We will continue. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about it, not just talk either. You see, for the expunging and for, you know, people that had weed and they're in jail, take them out, because you need to make space for the politicians. Say, voila. When you start to think, when you start to think of the people, if we're talking about sickness, if we're talking about healthcare, about people that have died because of lack of resources, because of a lack of a space, proper space, because of the nurses that cannot stay, because of all of that, the money you'll say you didn't have to give people, you'll have to spend for yourself, you'll have to steal. And we're supposed to stay there and take that? Fede can come and talk on any press conference, talk about healthcare? Let's take the call. Good afternoon.
Tresha?
Yes.
That's Frank here.
Hi.
I like to identify myself because I believe I'm not hiding anything. Tresha, I have been saying from day one of the St. Jude Hospital fiasco and CHTTI, that Alan Shastney has been the biggest facilitator of corruption and Guy Joseph, helping Guy Joseph. I said St. Jude's was a conduit through Parliament to suck state funds. I've been saying that from day one. And today, we are seeing evidence of that. While I did not have the hard copy or even soft copy, but what I saw going on and how the thing was being maneuvered, it told me that something was happening there that is not right. It is a place to suck state funds. Now, the question is, who is going to be held liable? Our laws, Attorney General, Special Prosecutor, have to find a way and use precedents that have been used overseas, especially in England. Had a case a couple of years ago where abuse of power. I don't know whether we could use that one precedent. Somebody have to be held accountable. Somebody have to. Now, I will be the first to say it's up to the magistrate or the judge if they want to choose to send this one and that one to jail. It's not the government. But the government have to do all in their powers to see that somebody been brought to the courts. It cannot be business as usual. And you know a real what? You know, like Trisha, somebody stole your phone and they're still talking to you and they really don't care. These fellas and the UWPs and the Dr. Secrets and all of them that blah 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 all over the place, and Dominic, and And even Bradley, as if nothing happened, you know. I don't want to believe that these fellas are not seeing the heavy evidence that have been floating around, you know, of the corruption, you know. I don't want to believe they're not seeing that. They are seeing it, but they're pretending that everything is haywire. Welcoming Shastney's back. Oh, the Shastney. But of course, Shastney has to come back because he has to be held accountable for what he did with state funds. And if he comes back today, I'm happy for him to come back. Come and answer. And not in Parliament, you know, in the court of law, for the Sufra, from the time the inquiry, remember the thing in the Sufra? Shastney must be held accountable from that time, and that case has to go back.
Because he does so many things. You're forgetting about the Sufra part of it.
I've always been saying that Guy Joseph went into Parliament the first time they went, and they passed a law, no statute of limitations for ministers and public servants and whatever. And I always call it the Guy Joseph law. You know why I call it the Guy Joseph law? Because I said it's going to come back to haunt him. Because they fought the Labour Party did wrongdoing in government. Now, so since there's no statute of limitation, Shastney has to be held accountable for the third world monies. He has to be held accountable from that, and we're moving forward. Have a good one.
Thank you very much, caller. And, you know, you'll have some of the hacks saying, I thought y'all wanted Shas must go, Shas must go. I agree. I wanted Shas must go, but I want him to go to jail. And all the lot of them that were part of it. And the thing when you speak about Bradley, you know, being this self-proclaimed nice guy, people see him as this nice guy, and he, you know, he isn't somebody to, you know, be wary of. People like that are worse. Because you feel like they're supposed to know better. You feel like, you know, being a nice guy. Some of them will go, some of them even probably relieved. You know, you take what you get already, you'll go and you'll be quiet. Sarah Yonki son ka even di guy fe bye. But looking at where we are, it once again will show us who we are as a people. I appreciate this information. I think more of it needs to come out. But it will be an indictment on the Solution Labour Party if nothing is done about that. If nothing is done about this. We arresting people for all manner of crime. Freeze assets, do what you need to make it hurt. People cannot be overseas riding bike and having a good time knowing that they have taken the country's money. And with it, lives that probably could have been saved with that same money. I am not exaggerating when I say attack these Munsa. They're probably murderers too, because you've seen it as money, but that's money that could have been done helping children with school, helping building the actual hospital, helping with equipment that we do not have. So the COVID that people playing, they so gung-ho about and they want to see everything being done. I remember that lady called me yesterday to say, you know, this is not about politics or whatever. Politicians direct policy, so it does matter. You'll forgive me if I'm coming on way too strong or if I'm being too loud or, you know, but I really feel that this is wrong on so many levels. And maybe, you know, perhaps where I am and knowing that, you know, you didn't have the money or you're trying to get some support to help certain people and there's money being wasted and taken and stolen while people are dying, people that need the help are dying. And then now you want to come in to say, shut the borders. So when you do that, what exactly do you want? You want to create some even more instability. You know you leave no money. You all know you're rape and scrape. Even at the final hour, where to start in, Jig tears up where, and you all know what's going to happen. And that is what you call. That's what you're calling opposition. That's what you're calling Bradley, Ek, Farah, Ek, Kino you're called Fede, Kaivin Palekisa, Betis. All of y'all in it, and you should be ashamed too. Right now, you have Shastney not even coming, Shastney not even speaking for himself. I would have liked to see Shastney in the house, hearing him while they're talking about the monies that cannot be accounted for. Upala, you need to be there. Let's take the call. Good afternoon.
Boys, you go.
Good. Hi. Good. Bonjour.
C'est pour première fois dans couiller chaud.
OK, merci à pile.
Moi non ti dans mon laissel moi décider pour couiller.
OK, merci. Moi
et là moi am regarder tout ça ou ka dit à madame c'est la vérité. Et puis si moi regarder yo ka wete yo moun pour yon ti marijuana de la yo mette la jol. Tout ça li mo wo ça la moi tan nou couiller ya. Moi vle yo faire investigation et ça qui en charge pour c'est l'argent ça là. Moi vle yo aller la jol aussi. C'est moun qui la jol là. A nan di yo pas fait gros crime courant. Et qui on dit dans la jol là. Et what ça bon c'est nom ça qui doit qui un gouvernement qui dépensait tout l'argent pays ya. Et puis nous passons qui ça yo fait et puis et qu'on chay dit c'est hak la commande gouvernement qui là combien l'argent yo joine encore fois. Est-ce qu'on faut arrêter là? Moi vle yo fait yon gamme et puis c'est moun ça là qui dépense l'argent. Yo dit l'hôpital là te kay fini. Et l'hôpital là pour qu'on sache qui il kay fini. Moi vle gouvernement mette des pieds à terre. Et fait ces moun ça là payer pour tout ce l'argent ça là qui dépense là. Because nous ka souffert en pays et yo vle bay gouvernement qui là parole. Si tout l'autre station dans l'homme, il n'y a pas contre tête moi bon malade. Madame, ou pas parler la vérité et depuis ou pas parler la vérité, moun pas kay content. Continuez faire bon travail là ou ka faire et pas mêler ça moun dit cheve fort pas moli, mani tellement l'argent. So, bonne journée pour.
Merci Apil. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Merci. Thank you very much, caller. Do we have another call? We don't seem to have any. I think we'll try to squeeze one more if we can. But, you know, in all of this, I think we all want to see something being done. And I think it will be a message to others that want to come into this politics. I do not have any problem. Remember when Spider said to King, as if they take you from the gutter, they take you from the gutter and make you something. That's clearly house slave mentality. You could be anything, come from anywhere, and be whatever you want to be. And, you know, but for those who want to become politicians, because that's where they feel the money is, that's where they feel your money is to take. Apo yo ka point, yo ka jik ba ou la an VA, e ka di ako di se fave yo fe ou. For those that say they give the $1,500 as if they give it to you for COVID, it was your money. Your money at NIC, your ba ou VA, ek la yo fin yo ka bo score yo. They ban sa honte. They have not given St. Lucians anything, even in the midst of our most trying times. And the person in charge of all of it, the person who was there for all of it, who signed off on all of it, the buck stopped with Alan Shastney, Ipala. For 3 consecutive sittings, he has decided to absent himself and send the speaker a WhatsApp message to say he cannot come. Continued disrespect. If you're afraid of being called out on what has happened, you have to come back. I want him to go. But I want to go. You only know what I was saying. I said, Shasay must go. We only need the rest. Let's take the final call. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tresha.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, I like your passion, but make sure you check your blood pressure.
Okay, I will.
Okay, let me tell you. You know, an audit of St. Jude, a financial audit is a must, not a maybe. But you know what I'm concerned about? I want to ensure that some international, I'll say a company, maybe we cannot afford them, but along with whatever team we are putting down, we have to get an international auditor who is versed in that kind of work to accompany our people, because I don't want it to go the way of other audits and investigations we have had. I'm not talking about getting a company. It's expensive. But if we can, whether it be a St. Lucian who's out there, but somebody you know who will bring blood. And I seriously mean that, because that is no joke, right? And I'm concerned about not just sending people where all of us want them to go, but we want our money back, right? And I think we have to take that one very, very seriously. And we pressure. Some people are pressuring. They're asking the government to get to that. I don't think it is a direct priority. I think they need to take their time, but these sellers must be made to pay. You know, we don't want to go the way of when you're so busy dealing with Shastley and Guy and them, your 5 years come and all of a sudden you have nothing to show. I think I like what they're doing now, trying to get people back into work, trying to get money into the country, working on COVID, but something must be set up. Some ironclad body must be set up that is going to bring these fellas to justice. Thank you, and do have a great day.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you. I think we've come to the end of the show. I just want to thank all of you for watching and for listening and for being my co-host. I appreciate it always. But as we continue to, make sure that we hold these governments, these parties, these politicians accountable, we must not relent. There are people who might try to shame you loudly to say, y'all win already, what y'all want again, y'all win the elections already. That is not the case. This does not stop here. Democracy doesn't just end when, voting does. We need to continue because that's what they want. They want you to forget. They want you to, just look towards it and just, celebrate everything or whatever. But we will not forget. And for those that try to escape, for those that feel they've already made it, you can go in your villa and sit down. You can go where y'all want, the land y'all take at concessionary prices, and all of y'all good. Y'all feel y'all good on our head with our money. You will have to pay. You will have to pay. And again, Naveti, SLP, moi vlewa by fet avec ça. It's early days still, but the hope is there. And even as I end, I just want to once again extend my condolences to the family of Buju and all the people in the Mung and Vieux that knew him and loved him. And it's going to be a great loss for me personally. And that's how I think we'll end the show. So with all of that being said, hopefully I see you guys tomorrow, but at 11, see Bordevle. But until then, please, please, please have a good one.
Gone away, yeah. Gone away, yeah, yeah, yeah. Gone away, yeah. Gone away.